Joe Thompson, welcome to the Integral Chat. I've wanted to speak to you for a long time because your story is a fascinating one and really is inspirational for everybody, really, not just people that have had a serious illness before, but all of us, we're all affected by cancer, aren't we? Whether it's loved ones, whether it's ourselves. But you, when you first found out that you had cancer, you were 23 years old. Can you tell me what that was like, at such a young age to be given this bombshell?
It's a really good question. I was naive and ignorant to it all. So I always kind of referenced it to older people. And I did. I got a big shock, massive eye opener, and I had that air of invincibility as young footballers tend to do. And I just happened to think I'd been for a biopsy 4 days prior, and now it was just going to be a case of it's going to tell me I've got an infection. I'm going to have some antibiotics, and I'll be back on the football pitch in no time at all. So for the specialist and the doctor to tell me that I got Hodgkins lymphoma, and I probably had it for 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite overwhelming. It really did take me back. I was shell shocked, and I went with my wife, my partner Chantal, and my little girl in the pram. And we'd almost tried to make a little bit of a day of it because when I was playing at Tranmere, I was still in Manchester, and I would travel to and from, which was about an hour and 20. So we went and we had some lunch, and then we went to have the checkup with the doctor, and then that's when he told me the news. And yeah, it was. It's not a day that I like to relive too much, but it's not a day that I'll ever forget for sure.
No, absolutely. And I mean, had you been ill, because if you say that had it for 3 years, that's a long time. You must have had some symptoms, and did you ignore them, or were they just not sort of really grave symptoms?
No, I think I highlighted it then, didn't I, Bianca? That word ignorance. I did ignore them. I clearly was ticking all the boxes. A lot of the things like night sweats and fatigue and shortness of breath and muscle pains. I was just putting them to football and being a new dad, and those sleepless nights. So when I looked at all the symptoms, I was ticking every one of them. And I remember the doctor saying to me, "It's almost because you're so fit, your body's tried to adapt with it and tried to fight it in its various ways. But when I look back at various parts of my career, there was one instance where I got a huge dead leg, and it got to a point where I was out for like 2 weeks, and the physio and the manager at the time were looking at me like, "Are you sure there's something wrong with you, Joe?" I was like, "I cannot flex my leg. It's just not happening." I remember the impact, but they're just like, everyday training sorts of things. But what happened was about 2 days later, a huge blob of blood appeared on my quad. And then it was like, right, but now I know with it being my immune system, everything was taking longer to heal and to present themselves. So just a simple thing as a bruise.
Wow.
And I didn't have the platelets at the time to obviously repair the muscle damage, was taking forever. So it was something that I was, aware of now. But if I say to anybody, it is important that you are in tune with your body, and if you feel anything, just flag it up. Even if it's just peace of mind, because the importance of an early diagnosis as well is, so valuable.
Absolutely. You ended up having the treatment. Obviously, you beat it that first time.
Yeah.
It was obviously, God, you must have had some tough moments. When it came back the second time, what was that like for you? Was it worse as, than the first time because you knew what you were going to have to face this second time round?
10 times worse. And you hit the nail on the head there. First time round, it was almost like everything's new. Your adrenaline almost gets you through it all. And the one thing I really struggled with the first time round was I was on a young oncology unit. So anybody between 25 and 5 could be having treatment at the same time. So sometimes I would go into that hospital almost like the flag bearer. I knew a lot of them knew my story, and then once you start getting a routine, you'll be in and around the same people. So for me to witness some young kids really struggling and not knowing anything but the pain that they were suffering, psychologically it took its toll on me. Physically, I dealt with the treatment quite well.
Yeah.
Whereas the second time round, I was on what I call the men's ward in a way, and lots of old grumpy men that wanted to put the world to rights. And I remember having countless arguments saying like we're in it together, but you understand why everyone's feeling so down. But it came to the point where I was like, why not me? Just because I play professional football, just because I pride myself on being a good man. 3 years prior, I saw these little kids that I know nothing but suffering, and I did my best to try and inspire them and empathize with their parents as well, being a parent. But I just thought to myself, second time around, we've just got to get through it. Problem was for me, my little girl was now 4, nearly 5. So she was going to have lots of questions. Daddy was going to have to spend a lot of time away from her. And I did 6 days solid cycle, 24 hours. And even the way my chemo fell, I would come off on a night time and all the lights would go off around 9, 10 o'clock for everyone to try and get some sleep. And I remember getting taken off the machine and having like 15, 20 minutes before I go again. Just thinking I might as well clean my teeth, have a little wash and get back on the machine, because the quicker we get it done, the quicker I get home. And then in between that cycle, I got rushed back into hospital. And not a lot of many people know this, but I got really unwell in between 2 cycles, and I was being violently sick. And that was one of the side effects of the chemo that I really struggled with. And it got to a point where I kept on, spewing, and my wife was like, Joe, we're going to have to press the red button and call him. And I was like, no. But a couple of hours passed, and I just said to her, yeah, we've got to ring him. And an ambulance came, and it took me to the hospital. And for about a day, I blacked out. And I woke up on machines. I was a bit disorientated, didn't quite know where I was. And it really scared me, though. It brought the severity of the situation, because I tend to think I am quite resilient, and I take things in my stride. But when that happened, it was scary to say the least. And I knew that I was going to have to do another 6 days of chemotherapy and then have the stem cell transplant. So, it was not going to be, I say, a pleasant journey, but I was going to do my utmost to get through it.
You obviously had some really dark moments during this time. I can't actually imagine, what you must have gone through, but how did you keep yourself going through this? Is it something that you think some people have inherently within them?
No, I think we all have it.
Yeah.
I think we all have the strength within us. I think a lot of it's mindset. And I think you've just got to know what your why is. You've just got to know what you can tap into to really harness that strength. So for me, family was everything. And my little girl was so important. And even when I look back at like certain pictures and people tell me certain things, I always say my wife, she's the soldier. My brother was there, my mum was there, but my wife kept everything together, as well as being a mum, as well as looking after our businesses. And you just need to have that open communication. So there was some strong conversations that we had and some emotional chats as well. I remember speaking to her when I was in isolation and it got to day 10 and I felt like giving up. I felt like throwing the towel in. But I rang her and said, look, I'm at tipping point. And she said, well, what do you need? She said, our first wedding anniversary is coming up in a day. So just get me to that point. I said, right, okay. And then when she visited me, we sat and watched Love Island. And I don't usually watch much TV. But by this time, my vision had got a bit blurry. I found it very hard to concentrate. I know a lot of people say read, fill yourself with positivity. Get it, but I did a lot of listening to music and we put the TV on and Love Island's on. I've got all these young couples telling each other they love each other. And I just remember thinking, what the hell do they know? You know, here we are through sickness and health. And she left and I said to her, you know, Shan, if this cancer gets on top of me, I just want you to know that I never gave up. I just got beat. And she said, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Lulu in, my little girl, on Father's Day. I said, that's a good plan. That was 2 days after. And she said, so I need you to get to that point. I said, right, okay. And then I had to tell the doctors that that was going to happen because anybody with any coughs or sniffles could, you know, it could be fatal for me because I had nothing to fight off. And anybody between the ages of 12 and under shouldn't really be anywhere near it. But I said, look, this is just my one wish. I need 15 minutes with her. She came in, and by this time now I'd lost a lot of hair. I remember trying to almost present myself, but I'd lost a lot at the back. And I almost stayed glued to the bed. And she gave me this little card that she'd made at school. And I could see she was shocked by my appearance, but she gave me the card, she did the stethoscope, gave me some grapes, was like a little Doc McStuffins. And then out of nowhere, she said, Daddy, you're going to die. So the fact that I couldn't give her the honest answer there and then and reassure my little girl was heartbreaking. But it's the one thing I say to her and I say to others when I come across them. If you give it your all and you come up short, you know, you can look yourself and your family in the mirror and say, I gave it everything. And that's what I said to her. And then it was no surprise within 3 days of having that little meeting with the boss and that little debrief that I managed to get out of hospital. All my bloods were on nothing, 0, and nothing was happening. And the doctors were worried because I'd lost 3.5 stone. And then they all started shooting up. Kept some food down. I made the decision to go plant-based, which is a big decision because it's something that was foreign to me. So that transition and that re-education was huge. But I started to see it all working. And then I came out after 3 days and I've pretty much been bedbound. And I just remember thinking to myself, I don't want to get wheeled out of this hospital in a wheelchair and put in the car. I need to walk out. And I pretty much propped myself up with Lula and the suitcase with my wife, with, you know, lugging everything else. And then I got out and I tore my car. I stepped off the curb. And that dawned on me then that football was a million miles away. But it was something that I wanted to do. But it was a long, long way away. And, you know, there was going to have to be a lot of rehabilitation if I could get anywhere near a football pitch.
Wow. I mean, that's the power of love, I think, that got you through there. And that is just mind-blowing. Made me feel quite emotional there. And the fact that you were thinking about football says a lot about your strength of character, that you even thought at that time that there might be a possibility to come back.
You've got to give yourself a carrot at the end of it.
Exactly. But you did that. And not only did you give yourself that carrot, you got the carrot because you came back. And really thinking about it, after what you've just told me, it's nothing short of a miracle that you went back to professional football. How did you know? How did you get there? How did you get back? And that must have been a journey in itself.
I always say, how did we get there? Because I didn't do it on my own. Rochdale were unbelievable to me. The support that I got from the footballing world was incredible. You know, the likes of Brian Robson, prime example, took the time out to ring me. Says a lot about him as a man. Paul Scholes, Steven Gerrard, Stilian Petrov.
Yeah.
Virtually held my hand through it all, because you do, as a footballer, you want to see someone that's been in a similar position.
Absolutely.
They know your mindset as well, and if they've got those core values that align with you, you really, hold on every word they say. So I'm forever grateful for everybody that supported me. And yeah, it was tough, because the question was, could I do it? And I didn't know the answer. But I've been given the question before from a little girl, Daddy, are you going to die? And here I am. So I took a lot of confidence from that, but I was fully aware that it was going to be stop-start, maybe, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And for the first month after chemotherapy, I kept on blacking out. I kept on just falling over at home. And I couldn't get up the stairs. I couldn't drive. So I was having to be around a lot of people that could help me. So in the end, one of my teammates would take me to training. And then it'd be a case when I was with the physio, he'd just say to me, what do you want to do today? And at some point, it was just, we'll just go for a walk around the stadium, around the ground. Other times I would say, I think I've got 5K jogging me, or 10K bike ride. And we'd just try and set little milestones and little building blocks. And then got on the grass and my legs felt like jelly. I remember passing 5 yards repetitively, and then we go 10. And then it was a case of, right, let's start curling it. And my groins and my hips and everything were just like, Joe, what are you doing to us? But every now and then I could see training over the other side, and I could get a bit closer to the lads, and I'd have that banter with them, which kept me going. And it was unbelievable. When I ran out, I call it, for my second debut in a way. I think it was 12 months after I'd been diagnosed the second time. I think it was the 24th, which is Christmas Eve, when I got diagnosed. And then from then, the treatment to rehab was 12 months. I think it was either Boxing Day or the 23rd when I ran out. And I've gone past the goalkeeper and slotted it towards the goal, and some defenders come and cleared it off the line. And I thought, he doesn't know the script. What's he doing? These are the bright lights. Joe Thompson's returned and he's only gone and scored. But I didn't quite know what was round the corner.
Yeah.
At the end of the season.
You had probably the best fairy tale moment, that could ever be scripted. What can you tell us about, a little bit about the background, the day, what was at stake, and what happened?
So we were doing really well in the FA Cup, and I say again, my team, the boys, got me to run out at Wembley against Tottenham in an FA Cup replay. We drew 2-2 the first time, and then I came on as a second half substitute, and we got slapped 6-1. And the Tottenham team then, as anyone's seen Game of Thrones, it was -7, the snow was at Wembley, so everybody's dream, but it wasn't quite how I expected it. And I've got Son, Dembele, Dele Alli, Harry Kane, all running riot, and my defenders looking at us like, help, help, help. And I knew that night that I was never going to get to the heights that maybe I should have and could have.
Right.
But I was at peace with that, because I was running around a football pitch. And then we were struggling in the league. It was the last day of the season and we needed to win. and I was on the subs bench, which I was miffed off to say the least. But I knew if I got given the opportunity, I would make some sort of impact. And I came on after 65 minutes, and within 4 minutes, it was my first 2 touches. I shifted it from my right onto my left, which is not something I usually do. And I just levered the ball, and it went past the goalkeeper. And we were playing Charlton on that day. We were in the playoffs. And it was either us or Oldham that went down. So, Rochdale, Oldham, I think there's 3 or 4 miles between the two towns. That rivalry was there. And for me to score the goal was unbelievable. But I knew there was still 20 or 30 minutes of the game left. But I just remember thinking, I've done it. I've done it. And prior to that, I took my little girl to my mum's house. And we were driving in the car, and she's listening to her music, and she put The Greatest Showman on, and I'd never heard it. And I was listening to some of the lyrics, and it was talking about, not shying away and accepting the scars and the bruises. And she's singing a little heart out in the back. And before the game and at half time, I put my headphones in and I went on the toilet and I just listened to it because I cried in the car. But when my manager said, Keith Philly was like, "You're going on," I just said, "Yeah, leave it with me." I was in the zone. And then, the fairy tale happened. Oldham drew with Northampton and we managed to stay up. And the story goes, the ultimate survivor, come off the hour, come off the man and all that. But I just had this feeling inside me that I was going to be the one. And I couldn't have played it out any better.
No,
it was a magical moment, not just for me, also for anybody that's had setbacks. That is proof that you can be at rock bottom and climb the mountain. But when you get there, you've got to make sure you enjoy the view.
Yeah, fantastic. That is just incredible. I'm waiting for the film to come out. Who would play you?
Oh, I don't know. I think Will Smith's getting a little bit older now.
Yeah, he's a bit long in the tooth now. Oh, brilliant. Okay, so you did eventually retire, obviously.
Yeah.
What have you gone on to do since that moment? Because obviously it changed your entire life. It changed the trajectory of your life, what you wanted, and what you probably wanted to achieve. What have you done? You've definitely, the chance that you've had at life, you've grasped it and you've made the most of every single second, haven't you?
And I think that's the key. It's making the most of every moment. So I don't see adversity as something to fear anymore. I see it as an element of adversity creates growth. And once I got that into my mindset, you almost take the severity out of some certain situations, but it allows you that clarity. So I knew with all of that, what I've been through, it's changed me as a person for the better. You have to be focused and almost selfish as a footballer. But I had a more of a holistic 360 view now on life. So I just do my best to give back. And motivational speaking is, something that I really do pride myself on because I know the impact certain conversations and talks that I have on people.
Yeah.
And I love football, so I'm never going to let that go. And I really enjoy doing the radio and doing the punditry like I was last night for MUTV. And if I can be a part of something that really has a tangible impact and difference on people's lives, then, I'm all in, because we talk about commitment and it's a scary thing because you leave yourself vulnerable. But when I commit to something, I want the person or the company that I'm committing to know that I'm in it. And if we can make a real difference, then I'm going to do my utmost to do that.
Yeah. You want to pay it forward. And
100%.
With the fact that you had people like Brian Robson and Stilian Petrov helping you, have you been in touch with David Brooks, who unfortunately, I think it's the same cancer that you had? Is that right?
Yeah,
He's been diagnosed. Yeah.
It
So
is.
have you been able to give him some advice and help him?
I hope so. I've spoken to him. I reached out to him straight away because I remember I saw it on Sky Sports News, and it just took me back to the day when Jeff Stelling said it. And you always want Jeff Stelling to be talking about all the goals that he scored and the hat tricks and the wonderful wins and whatnot. But when I saw his name on the yellow banner and it was like breaking news, David Brooks has been diagnosed with Hodgkins lymphoma. Same age, same cancer. The one positive for him was that he's at stage 2, whereas I was at stage 4S. And
Right.
yes, everybody's different, but you can see that it can be done. So I spoke to his agent, Harris Henderson, and various people at the club as well, and said, look, just let him know that I'm here if he needs me, because everyone's got to do it in their own way. And
Mm.
if he does want a phone call with me, I'm more than happy. If he wants me to drive down, I'll jump in the car. It's not a problem. And we just had a chat as boys. He had some questions for me. I did my best to tell him certain things to expect, and he knows on this journey through it that we're going to make sure he comes out the other end. And if he does need anything at any point in time, or a night time, he can call me because I've had that. I did something very similar with Carl Akimi as well, and
Yeah.
obviously Carl Man Mountain, he's still here to tell the tale, and it fills me with pride to know that I've helped certain people in some real testing times. And I'm not saying I've got all the answers, but to just know that you've got the support of someone is powerful in itself.
Yeah, it really is. And obviously, we wish him all the best with his treatment and recovery. And just finally, Joe, you're continuing to inspire and try to raise awareness. Can you tell us a bit about the partnership that you have and the campaign with Cancer Research and Scottish Power? What you're trying to do, and I know they've raised a hell of a lot of money, to for research and to try and combat this disease. If you can just give us a little bit of background and what you hope will come out of this campaign.
So, firstly, I'm ever so proud to be asked to be a part of it. Scottish Power partnered with Cancer Research back in 2012, and have now raised over 30 million, which is a staggering amount of money. Unbelievable. And they have no plans to stop there neither, which was like music to my ears, because no research, no Joe Thompson. And I'm humble enough to know that I'm one of many. So the importance of being able to fund and raise money for the research, it can't be measured. It
Mm.
really can't. So if I can add value to that, then I will do. Because I went up to Hampden Park. I think it was last month, and I sat down with the guys, and we did a campaign day about raising awareness, also the importance of living a healthy lifestyle. And if you do find anything unusual, get to the doctor as soon as possible, because I said before, those early diagnoses are paramount, because time is priceless. And I went up there, and a gentleman called Campbell McDougall was there, and he'd lost his brother to cancer. But since then, he'd done 15 marathons, and
Wow.
he was the other side of 50. And it was truly inspiring, because it's something that I've always wanted to do. I've questioned whether I can do it because of certain things that have come with the chemotherapy that I suffer with now. So I suffer with a bit of nerve damage, and I can get chronic fatigue from time to time. But it's the importance of setting goals, and if he can do 15 marathons and raise, a phenomenal amount of money for cancer research, almost leading a legacy from his brother, I thought, you know what, I've got to really start setting some targets, and it's something that I want to do in the future. And again, it's like anything, I'll have to build myself up. but I'll get there. And, I think raising awareness is so, so important, and having these open and honest conversations, it can be life-saving.
100%. Well, I know you'll get there. I look forward to seeing you do that marathon.
Finish line.
Absolutely. Joe, do you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate your time. It's a fantastic story, and I wish you all the best with the campaign with Scottish Power and cancer research and everything else as well. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Bianca, it's been a real privilege. It's been too long, and I know we should have done it sooner, but we can't rush greatness, can we?
That is it.